The dust-stained gallows stood like a harbinger of death at the edge of Redemption Creek, where Sage Keller found herself bound and condemned for a crime she didn't commit. The year was 1876, the scorching summer sun of Arizona Territory beating down mercilessly as townsfolk gathered to witness what they believed to be justice. Her wrists were raw from the rough hemp rope that bound them, her throat dry with fear and indignation as two men dragged her toward the wooden post where criminals were publicly humiliated before hanging. "I'm innocent!" Sage cried out, her voice cracking with desperation. "I never stole that horse!" Sheriff Wilkins spat tobacco juice into the dirt, unmoved by her pleas. "Save your breath, woman. We found the stallion in your barn with its brand still fresh. That horse wandered onto my property. I was going to return it come morning." The crowd jeered, their faces twisted with a thirst for frontier justice that required little evidence, and even less mercy. Sage had arrived in Redemption Creek only 3 months prior, purchasing a small homestead with money saved from years of working as a seamstress back east. Being a woman alone made her vulnerable, suspicious in the eyes of the townsfolk who valued conformity above all else. As the men dragged her closer to the post, Sage's struggles intensified. Her honey-brown hair had come loose from its pins, cascading down her back in waves that caught the sunlight. At 24, she had come west seeking freedom and opportunity, not a public execution based on circumstantial evidence. "Chain her to the post," Sheriff Wilkins commanded. "Let her stand in the sun until nightfall. Then we'll decide if she hangs or merely loses her homestead." One of the deputies produced heavy iron shackles, their links rattling ominously in the tense silence that had fallen over the crowd. Sage's green eyes widened in terror as they forced her against the rough wood of the post, splinters piercing through the thin fabric of her dress. Just as the first cold iron cuff was about to close around her wrist, a commanding voice cut through the crowd. "You'll do no such thing." The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Noah Sinclair strode forward, his presence commanding immediate respect. At 32, he was already a legend in the territory. A former Texas Ranger turned cattle rancher, his 6'3" frame moved with the confident grace of a man who knew his own strength. His face, weathered by years under the western sun, remained impassive as he approached, though his blue eyes blazed with controlled fury. "This isn't your concern, Sinclair," Sheriff Wilkins growled, though Sage noticed how he subtly straightened his posture. Noah's hand rested casually on the holstered Colt at his hip. "I'm making it my concern. What evidence do you have besides a stray horse?" "The brand was tampered with," one deputy offered. "By whom? Did anyone witness Miss Keller doing this tampering?" Noah's gaze swept over the crowd, challenging anyone to speak up. When no one did, he continued, "I thought not." Sheriff Wilkins stepped forward, bristling. "She's new here. No kin, no husband. Makes her suspect. Being alone makes her a horse thief?" Noah scoffed. "That's mighty poor detective work, Sheriff." Sage stood frozen, barely daring to breathe as this stranger defended her. She had seen Noah Sinclair in town but had never spoken to him. His reputation preceded him, fair but formidable, a man whose word was considered bond throughout the territory. The sheriff's face flushed red with humiliation. "The law's the law, Sinclair. Someone has to answer for the stolen property. Then perhaps you should find the actual thief instead of making examples of innocent women." Noah moved closer to Sage, his voice dropping to a dangerous octave. "Take those chains off her." When the deputies hesitated, looking to the sheriff for guidance, Noah's patience visibly thinned. "I said," he repeated slowly, "she'll walk free beside me. Unless you prefer I take this matter to the territorial judge along with a complaint about your methods of justice." The mention of the judge, a notoriously strict man who had previously suspended Sheriff Wilkins for overstepping his authority, caused an immediate shift in the atmosphere. The sheriff's face contorted with barely contained rage, but he reluctantly nodded to his deputies. "Release her," he ordered through clenched teeth. As the ropes fell away from Sage's wrists, she rubbed the raw skin, disbelief and relief flooding through her in equal measure. Noah Sinclair extended his arm to her, his expression softening slightly. "Miss Keller, I believe you and I have matters to discuss. Would you accompany me?" Still trembling from her ordeal, Sage nodded, taking his offered arm. She felt the hostile stares of the townsfolk as Noah led her away from the post that had nearly been her place of punishment. "Why did you help me?" she whispered as they walked toward his waiting horse. Noah's expression remained unreadable. "Because justice matters to me, Miss Keller. And what was happening there wasn't justice." He helped her onto his chestnut stallion before mounting behind her. The solid warmth of him at her back was both unsettling and comforting as they rode away from Redemption Creek, leaving a cloud of dust and whispers in their wake. "Where are you taking me?" Sage asked, tension still evident in her voice. "To my ranch. You'll be safe there until we sort this out," Noah replied, his deep voice rumbling against her back. "I know who actually stole that horse, and it certainly wasn't you." As they rode across the rugged terrain, the setting sun painted the landscape in hues of gold and crimson. Sage couldn't help but wonder if she had escaped one danger only to ride directly into another. Yet something about Noah Sinclair's quiet confidence made her trust him, despite everything her experience had taught her about men and their promises. What she didn't know then was how this day would change the course of both their lives forever. Noah's ranch sprawled across a verdant valley, a stark contrast to the arid surroundings of Redemption Creek. The main house, constructed of solid timber and local stones, stood as a testament to his success and determination. As they approached, ranch hands paused in their evening chores, curious about the unfamiliar woman accompanying their boss. "Mr. Sinclair." An older man with a silver mustache approached as Noah helped Sage dismount. "Didn't expect you back so soon." "Change of plans, Walter," Noah replied, his hand lingering supportively at Sage's elbow. "This is Miss Keller. She'll be staying with us for a while." Walter's eyebrows rose slightly, but he merely tipped his hat to Sage. "Madam, welcome to Horizon Ranch." Noah led Sage into the house, where a housekeeper named Mrs. Holloway greeted them with barely concealed surprise. The interior was surprisingly refined, with quality furniture that must have been brought in at great expense from back east. "Mrs. Holloway, please prepare the guest room for Miss Keller," Noah instructed. "And perhaps some hot water for washing up." "Of course, Mr. Sinclair." The older woman's curious gaze lingered on Sage's disheveled appearance before she hurried away. Left alone in the spacious sitting room, Sage finally found her voice. "Mr. Sinclair, while I appreciate your intervention, I cannot possibly impose on you this way." Noah gestured for her to sit in one of the leather armchairs. "It's not an imposition, Miss Keller. It's a necessity. Sheriff Wilkins isn't known for letting go of a grudge. Your homestead isn't safe for you right now." Sage sank into the chair, the events of the day catching up with her. "You said you know who stole the horse?" "Who was it?" "The Rollins brothers," Noah replied, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey and offering one to her. "They've been rustling cattle and horses across 3 counties. They likely planted that stallion on your property when they needed to dispose of evidence quickly." Sage accepted the whiskey with shaking hands. "Why would they target me specifically?" "They didn't. You were just convenient isolated, new to the area, no strong connections in town." Noah's expression darkened. "It's a tactic they've used before. Find someone vulnerable to take the fall." "And how do you know all this?" Sage asked, taking a small sip of the amber liquid that burned a path down her throat. Noah sat across from her, his imposing frame somehow making the substantial chair look small. "I've been tracking them for months. They stole 20 head of my cattle last winter. The law hasn't been able to catch them, so I've been gathering evidence myself. That doesn't explain why you would risk making an enemy of the sheriff to help me." A ghost of a smile touched Noah's lips. "Sheriff Wilkins and I have never been on friendly terms. Besides, I couldn't stand by and watch an innocent woman be punished for something she didn't do." His blue eyes met hers directly. "Especially not when that woman has already endured more than her fair share of hardship." Sage stiffened. What do you mean by that? People talk, Miss Keller. I know you came west after losing your husband and child to influenza. I know you've worked hard to build a new life here. He paused, his voice softening. I admire that kind of courage. The mention of her past losses brought a fresh wave of pain. 2 years had passed since she had buried both her husband James and their infant daughter within a week of each other. The grief had nearly destroyed her, until the day she decided that staying in Philadelphia, surrounded by memories, would surely kill her. How could you possibly know about that? She whispered. Redemption Creek may appear large to newcomers, but information travels fast. I make it my business to know about people who settle near my land. He leaned forward. Your homestead borders the eastern edge of my property. We're neighbors, Miss Keller, though we hadn't formally met until today. Before Sage could respond, Mrs. Holloway returned to announce that the guest room was ready. Noah excused himself, promising they would continue their conversation over dinner. Led upstairs by the housekeeper, Sage found herself in a comfortable bedroom with a copper tub already filled with steaming water. Clean clothes, a simple dress that must have belonged to Mrs. Holloway in her younger days, were laid out on the bed. Mr. Sinclair is a good man, Mrs. Holloway said as she prepared to leave. Been alone too long since his brother died, but he's fair and honest. You're safe here, Miss Keller. Left alone, Sage sank into the warm bathwater, her mind racing with questions. Why would a man of Noah Sinclair's standing take such an interest in her welfare? Was it merely a sense of justice, or something more? And what would happen once the immediate danger had passed? As she washed away the dust and fear of the day, Sage couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed irrevocably, and that Noah Sinclair would be at the center of whatever came next. Dinner was served in a dining room adorned with heavy oak furniture and a surprisingly elegant chandelier. Noah sat at the head of the table, while Sage took the seat to his right. The meal was simple but substantial: roast beef, potatoes, and fresh bread that reminded Sage of how long it had been since she'd eaten. I've sent word to some contacts in the territorial capital, Noah explained as they ate. The Rollins brothers were spotted near Tucson yesterday. With any luck, they'll be apprehended within the week. And what happens to me in the meantime? Sage asked, setting down her fork. You stay here, where it's safe. Noah's tone brooked no argument. Once the real culprits are caught, you can return to your homestead if you wish. If I wish? Noah took a sip of his coffee before answering. Miss Keller, I don't mean to alarm you, but your situation at the homestead is precarious. You're alone, 5 miles from town, with little protection. Today's events proved how quickly things can turn against you. I'm not afraid of hard work or solitude, Mr. Sinclair. It's not about fear, he countered. It's about practicality. The West isn't kind to those who stand alone, man or woman. Sage bristled at his implication. Are you suggesting I abandon my homestead? The only thing I own in this world? Noah's expression softened. No. I'm suggesting you consider options that might make your position more secure. Such as? Such as? He hesitated, seemingly choosing his words carefully. Forming alliances with those who can help ensure your safety and success. Sage studied him, trying to discern his true meaning. Are you proposing some kind of business arrangement, Mr. Sinclair? Perhaps. His blue eyes held hers steadily. But that's a conversation for another day, when you're not recovering from nearly being chained to a post and accused of horse thievery. Despite the seriousness of her situation, Sage found herself smiling slightly. You have a peculiar way of putting things into perspective. Noah's face transformed when he smiled in return, the hard lines softening, revealing glimpses of a man who might once have laughed easily. It's a gift, Miss Keller. The next few days established an unexpected rhythm. During the days, Noah attended to ranch business while Sage, refusing to be idle, assisted Mrs. Holloway with household tasks. In the evenings, they would share dinner and conversation, gradually revealing pieces of themselves to each other. Noah spoke of his younger brother, Thomas, who had died 3 years earlier in a confrontation with cattle rustlers. He shared stories of his days as a Texas Ranger, of the ideals of justice that had guided him and the disillusionment that had led him to resign his position and build something of his own. In turn, Sage told him about growing up in Philadelphia, the daughter of a schoolteacher. She spoke of meeting James Keller, a kind-hearted shopkeeper, and their brief, happy marriage before illness claimed him and their daughter. She explained her decision to come west, to build something entirely new from the ashes of her former life. "You could have remarried in Philadelphia," Noah observed one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the horizon. "Surely there were suitors." "There were," Sage admitted, her fingers tracing the rim of her teacup. "But they all wanted the grieving widow who would be properly grateful for their rescue. None of them saw me just the role I could play in their lives." Noah's gaze was thoughtful. "And what did you want?" "To be seen. To build something that was mine." She smiled ruefully. "Though I admit, I underestimated the challenges of homesteading alone." "The land tests everyone who tries to claim it," Noah replied. "But it rewards persistence." On the evening of the fourth day, a rider arrived with news. The Rawlins brothers had been captured near the border with Mexico, found with not only the horse they'd planted on Sage's property but 15 others bearing altered brands. Noah relayed this information to Sage with evident satisfaction. "Sheriff Wilkins has been officially notified. All charges against you have been dropped." Relief washed over Sage, yet it was tempered by the realization that her time at Horizon Ranch had come to its natural conclusion. "Then I suppose I should return to my homestead tomorrow." Something flickered in Noah's expression, reluctance, perhaps? "There's no rush. The brothers had accomplices who are still at large. It might be safer to wait another day or two." "Mr. Sinclair," Sage said gently, "you've been extraordinarily kind, but I cannot impose on your hospitality indefinitely. My crops need tending, my chickens need feeding. Walter sent some of the hands over to look after things," Noah admitted. "Your homestead is being maintained." Sage blinked in surprise. "You did that for me?" "It seemed the right thing to do." That night, Sage found sleep elusive. She paced her room, conflicted by emotions she hadn't anticipated. In less than a week, Noah Sinclair had become important to her in ways she couldn't fully articulate. His strength, his sense of justice, his quiet companionship all had awakened feelings she'd thought buried alongside James. The guilt came swiftly, as it always did when she found herself moving forward from her grief. Was it disloyal to feel this way about another man? Or was it, perhaps, the most human thing of all to seek connection, to find warmth after the cold grip of loss? At dawn, she made her decision. After breakfast, she approached Noah in his study, where he sat reviewing ledgers. "I'll be returning to my homestead today," she announced, her voice firmer than she felt. "I appreciate everything you've done, but it's time." Noah set down his pen, his expression carefully neutral. "Of course. I'll have Walter prepare the wagon to take you home." "Thank you." Sage hesitated, then added, "I don't know how to repay your kindness." "No repayment is necessary. Nevertheless, I am in your debt." Noah stood, moving around the desk to stand before her. "Then perhaps you'll allow me to call on you properly, as neighbors should." Sage felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in years: anticipation, hope. "I would like that very much, Mr. Sinclair." "Noah," he corrected softly. "I think we're well past formalities, don't you?" "Noah," she agreed, the name feeling right on her lips. "And I'm Sage." The wagon ride to her homestead took less than an hour. True to Noah's word, everything had been maintained in her absence. Her small vegetable garden had been watered, her chickens fed, even her modest cabin had been swept clean. Walter, who had driven her home, tipped his hat before leaving. "Boss says to tell you he'll be by tomorrow afternoon, if that's agreeable to you." Sage nodded, watching as the wagon disappeared down the dusty trail. Alone once more, she surveyed her small kingdom, the land she had claimed, the home she had built. It felt different now, as if her brief time away had altered her perspective. The next afternoon, true to his word, Noah arrived. He came not on horseback but in a smart buggy, dressed in his Sunday best, with a bouquet of wild flowers and a basket of provisions from Mrs. Holloway. "I thought perhaps we might have a proper picnic," he suggested, his usual confidence tempered by a hint of uncertainty. They spread a blanket beneath the lone cottonwood tree near the creek that marked the boundary between their properties. As they ate Mrs. Holloway's fried chicken and apple pie, Sage found herself laughing more freely than she had in years. "I have a proposition for you," Noah said eventually, his expression turning serious. "A business proposition of sorts." "I'm listening," Sage replied, curious. "Your land adjoins mine." "It's good land, but difficult for one person to work effectively. I have resources, men, equipment." He paused. "I propose a partnership. Your land remains yours, but we work it together. Share the profits, share the burden." Sage considered his offer. "A generous proposal, but I wonder about your motives, Noah." His eyes met hers directly. "My motives are mixed, I admit. Practically speaking, it makes good business sense. Your water rights alone make your property valuable." He took a breath. "But there's more. These past days with you at Horizon, they made me realize how empty the place has been since Thomas died. How empty my life has been." Sage's heart quickened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I admire you, Sage Keller. Your strength, your determination. I'm saying that I'd like the chance to know you better, first as partners, perhaps someday as more." His hand reached for hers, tentative in a way that seemed at odds with his usual confidence. "If you're willing." Sage looked at their joined hands, his large and callous from years of ranch work, hers smaller but equally marked by labor. "I came west to build a life of my own, to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm not asking you to give that up," Noah assured her. "Just to consider that sometimes standing together might be stronger than standing alone." The weeks that followed established a new pattern. Noah would ride over most afternoons, sometimes to help with practical matters, fixing her leaky roof, reinforcing her chicken coop against coyotes, and sometimes simply to share a meal and conversation. Each visit ended the same way, with a respectful tip of his hat and a promise to return. Word spread to Redemption Creek about Noah Sinclair's regular visits to the Keller homestead. Some reacted with surprise, others with knowing nods. Sheriff Wilkins, humiliated by the Rollins brothers' capture proving Sage's innocence, maintained a cold distance whenever she ventured into town. One afternoon in late August, nearly 2 months after the day Noah had prevented her from being chained to the post, Sage found herself walking along the creek with him, discussing plans for the autumn harvest. "The corn should yield well," Noah was saying. "And if we combine it with what's growing on the north section of Horizon." He stopped abruptly as gunshots rang out, followed by shouts from the direction of Sage's cabin. Without hesitation, Noah pushed Sage behind him, drawing his revolver in one fluid motion. "Stay here," he ordered, his voice tight with tension. "No," Sage countered, already moving forward. "That's my home." They approached cautiously, using the trees for cover. Through the clearing, they saw 3 men on horseback circling Sage's cabin. With a jolt of fear, she recognized one as Frank Rollins, the youngest of the brothers who should have been in custody. "He must have escaped," Noah whispered, his expression grim. "He's come for revenge." "Keller!" Frank shouted, firing his pistol into the air. "Come out and face me! You sent my brothers to prison!" Noah's hand gripped Sage's arm. "Stay hidden. I'm going to circle around behind them." "It's too dangerous," she protested. His eyes held hers, intense and determined. "Trust me." Before she could argue further, Noah slipped away, moving through the underbrush with the stealth of his ranger days. Sage remained frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs as Frank Rollins continued to shout threats. "We know you're around here somewhere," the outlaw called. "Come out now, or we burn the cabin!" One of his companions dismounted, a torch in hand. The sight of the flame approaching her home, the home she had built with her own hands, ignited something fierce in Sage's chest. Without fully considering the consequences, she stepped from her hiding place. "I'm here, Rollins," she called, her voice steadier than she felt. "Your brothers are in prison because they're thieves, not because of me." Frank wheeled his horse around, his weathered face contorted with rage. "You uppity bitch! You think you can come out here and—" His words cut off as a shot rang out, striking the torch from his companion's hand. Noah emerged from behind the cabin, his revolver aimed with deadly precision. "Drop your weapons," he commanded. "All of you." Frank's shock quickly turned to calculation as he assessed the situation. Well, Noah Sinclair? Should have known you'd be sniffing around this woman's skirts. I won't ask again," Noah replied, his voice cold. "Drop your weapons." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Frank made his decision, drawing his pistol with reckless speed. Noah fired first, his bullet finding its mark in Frank's shoulder. The outlaw toppled from his horse, howling in pain. His companions, seeing their leader fall, quickly surrendered, dropping their weapons as instructed. Noah kept them covered while Sage, moving with purposeful calm, collected the fallen guns. "Tie them up," Noah instructed her. "Use the rope in my saddlebag. I'll keep them under watch until we can get word to the territorial marshal." As Sage bound the men's hands, Frank Rollins glared at her through eyes glazed with pain. "This ain't over. Not by a long shot." "It is for you," she replied evenly. "You'll join your brothers in prison, where you belong." The territorial marshal arrived the following day, taking the Rollins gang into custody with assurances that they would face the full force of the law. As the dust settled from the departing prison wagon, Sage found herself standing beside Noah on her porch, surveying the damage to her property. "The fence can be rebuilt," Noah observed. "And the chicken coop. Nothing irreparable." Sage nodded, though her thoughts were elsewhere. The confrontation had clarified something for her, something she had been circling around for weeks. "I've been thinking about your proposition." Noah turned to face her, his expression carefully neutral. "The business partnership?" "Yes." "And the other part?" Sage met his gaze directly. "I came west to build something of my own, to prove I could stand alone. And I have proven that. But standing alone isn't the same as living alone." Hope flickered in Noah's eyes. "What are you saying, Sage?" "I'm saying yes to the partnership." She took a step closer to him. "And I'm saying that I'd like to explore what might exist between us beyond business." Noah's smile transformed his face, making him look younger, unburdened. "I've wanted to hear those words since the day I saw them trying to chain you to that post. Why did you really intervene that day?" Sage asked, a question that had lingered in her mind. "The truth." Noah's hand rose to cup her cheek, his touch gentle despite his callous palm. "Because from the moment I first saw you in town, your head held high despite the whispers, your determination to build a life on your own terms, I admired you. When I saw what they were doing to you, something in me couldn't bear it. The injustice, yes, but more than that. The thought of your spirit being broken." "My spirit isn't easily broken," Sage murmured. "I know that now," Noah replied. "It's one of the many things I've come to love about you." The word hung between them, both a declaration and a question. Sage felt the last walls around her heart begin to crumble. "Love," she repeated softly. "I thought I might never feel that again after James died. I thought that part of me was buried with him. And now?" Noah asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Instead of answering with words, Sage closed the distance between them, rising on her tiptoes to press her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, then deepened as Noah's arms encircled her waist, drawing her closer. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Sage saw her own emotions reflected in Noah's eyes: hope, desire, and something deeper that felt remarkably like coming home. "Stay," she whispered. "Not just today. Stay in my life." Noah's forehead rested against hers. I plan to, Sage Keller. For as long as you'll have me. As the sun set over the western horizon, casting long shadows across the land they would now work together, Sage thought about the journey that had brought her here. From the depths of grief in Philadelphia to the threat of public humiliation at the post in Redemption Creek, to this moment of unexpected joy in the arms of a man who had seen her true worth from the beginning. The West had tested her, as it tested all who sought to claim a place within its vast expanse. But in finding Noah, she hadn't surrendered her independence, she had enhanced it, creating a partnership of equals built on mutual respect and growing love. 3 months later, they were married in a simple ceremony at Horizon Ranch, with Mrs. Holloway beaming proudly and Walter serving as Noah's best man. The same townsfolk who had once gathered to witness Sage's punishment now came to celebrate her happiness, their earlier suspicions forgotten in the face of Noah Sinclair's unwavering support. Together, they expanded both properties, combining Noah's ranching knowledge with Sage's talent for growing crops that thrived in the harsh climate. Their partnership proved as successful in business as it was in love, creating a prosperity that allowed them to help others who came west seeking their own fresh start. And on quiet evenings, when the day's work was done, they would often sit on the porch of their shared home, watching the stars emerge above the land that had brought them together. Sometimes they would speak of that fateful day when cruel hands had tried to chain Sage to a post of shame, only for Noah to offer her the freedom to walk beside him instead. "I never expected to find love again," Sage would sometimes say, her head resting on his shoulder. "Especially not in a place where I once faced such cruelty." And Noah, pressing a kiss to her temple, would reply, "Some treasures are found in the most unlikely places. You are the greatest treasure this land has ever given me." In a territory where so many stories ended in heartbreak and loss, theirs became a testament to the power of second chances and to the truth that sometimes the bravest act isn't standing alone, but choosing to walk forward together.